Hi guys, welcome to a video. Well, right, so the topic is children with autism in the school system. Back in my day, 70s, 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s is what I went through school with, compared to now, 2024. Oh, I'm old. Okay, so I just wanted to have my say on it because just like any different generational differences. Okay, let me try and explain that better. So the differences between generations, right? I wanted to talk about my generation because it's just something that needs to be known because we're still here, and we were autistic children, and what we went through mattered, meaning it affects us still now and makes us who we are now. And I think it's important for people who are getting a look at autistic children right now. Massively important because we can help them. That's the most important. But I do want to share a perspective of the previous generations of how we were treated, and as a result, how we've ended up. Using my psychology mind and my social services background, that's what I'm using here. And of course, the biggest and best, some would say, I know Tony Atwood probably would, is my anecdotal experience is very, very important in this. So, as I said, I was an autistic child, undiagnosed, being that it was the 70s when I was born. So I have 22q syndrome, so I have like a DNA version of autism. So basically, there is no denying that I'm autistic because it's in the DNA. So basically, I was schooled through the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. Now, I will preface to say first, I was educated in a city school system, which was the typical, what a typical Aussie would have probably experienced in the same era. Ex-gen guys, that's us. But also I was blessed to experience a very unique style of education in Denmark, Western Australia, which is, then it was a district high school and a kindy as well, which I never really made it to, being non-verbal. So, but anyway, I'll get more into that because it's very different now, how I would have been treated now if I was a student in 2024 compared to the 70s, 80s and 90s. So I went to a school that was very, let's just say, not the most into conformity, very relaxed, very much self-autonomy type style of education, which really suits an autistic, FYI. Okay, they like to do things their way. So I just wanted to say that because I do feel like a lot of homeschooling, of like traveling and not being in a traditional classroom all year, every year, there's a different lifestyle there. There's a sense of, you get taught this sense of self-sufficiency, and I think that I have to admit this, what I call a privilege, because it did help make me who I am today. It did help make me make the certain decisions I made to do with actual education, by the way, which is funny because I know a lot of people, when they look at that style, and let's say it's a Montessori style, people would criticize it, right? No, a child will not have a thirst for knowledge. The child must be beaten into the thirst for knowledge. Well, we don't know that, but what I do know is I was a very inquisitive child. I did not need encouraging. I just didn't want to do what they wanted to do at the moment of the day that they wanted to do it. And the way they did it was very boring. I like things to be, and when you're in an alternative, like I said, where I grew up a lot in Denmark, it was, the teachers were very excited about what they did. They were very about taking that self-sufficiency, control of life, which is a way of learning of You've got to do it yourself, experience it yourself, feel it yourself, know it for sure for it to really kick in. And I believe that's the only way to learn. Textbooks are just not enough learning. It's one little piece of the cake of the learning. You know how some people say, I've got to do it to learn it. That's you people, you get me, right? So basically, I'm just admitting to my differences. But let's look at the majority of the experiences that were problematic, because if we don't talk about the problems, we can't improve the future. It's kind of logical. So basically, when I was in the 70s, non-verbal child. So instead of it being seen as autism, it was seen as developmental delays. That's what it was seen as. And it was also seen as extreme shyness instead of being a non-verbal autistic. And that's how I was seen. So imagine that perception, yet you are a non-verbal autistic, meaning you don't have the words, the vocabulary, the comprehension, the ability to really do anything for yourself that other kids your age just do. You don't know you need to drink, you need to go to the toilet, you need to ask for food, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. People talk to you and it's just weird. It's like, I don't know, it's like me putting on a song for you that you've never ever heard before in your life and going, so what do you reckon? You know, and you'd be like, you know, you got to think about the rhythm and the music and the lyrics, and did you understand the lyrics? And that's what it was like being a non-verbal child. It was noise. People speaking to me was noise that I could not work out what was going on. Yet, because of the lack of knowledge of autism, that was not in my favour in the 70s. It was brutal. And that's why I back up early intervention now for our autistic children, because I'm seeing us go backwards. However, I'm also going to say it's not that it's better than I had it, but it's a problem. Let me explain that. So as I got older, even though I was in special education, because I am autistic, I have 3 learning disabilities, dyslexia, dyscalculia, and dysgraphia. So basically, I was in special education for the majority of my classes, for the majority of my school life. I needed extra assistance my whole school life. I needed assistance at university, even though it wasn't done formally. We didn't have disability services. We didn't have it. I went through 3 years of university. 3rd year's brutal. Most normal people have an emotional breakdown towards the end or during 3rd year. It's brutal. Because when you go to your lecturer, which used to be so supportive and warm and fuzzy in 1st year, and you go to them in 3rd year and you go, oh, this assignment's... And they go, you got to work it out. I'm not talking to you about it anymore. Deal. It's brutal. It's boot camp, okay? There's no shits given. You are just expected to work it out. It's like a puzzle. And they do not care. Survival of the fittest. So I had no disability support services. So I had to do that alone too. But let's go back to primary school. So primary school, I'm a special ed. And no, they didn't reject us accessing school compared to what's happening now. Great, but not great really, is it? Because they're being rejected from school. Bad, terrible, lowest of lows. But then I'm in school, and you know what they used to do with us? Do these little teachings of, like, I'm talking like, they're teaching me like one little tiny piece of a crumb of a whole massive cake. That's all I'm learning. Compared to my peers who are sitting in a bigger classroom to what they're doing. And if we didn't get that piece of crumb right, they didn't care. As in, let me say that, okay, that's a bit blunt. Right, they did care. They did care, right? But they didn't do anything about it. Still not their fault, but it's just the way it was. It was like, just pass them through. And there's nothing worse. And I'm sure if you can think to, I don't know, I once again, I can't relate because when I'm hyper-focused as a dancer, I always was top of the class. I was always getting the awards. I was always getting the certificates, trophies. But if you just try and think of a moment when someone's just kind of giving you this tokenism. Here you go. Right? And when I went to uni, I remember people saying to me, gosh, you work so hard. Why do you try so hard? Why do you care about whether it's distinction, high distinction? And I'm like, it's life and death. It's life and death. And I'm happy for the challenge. I'm here for the challenge. You know the reason? Is because I spent my whole school life just being passed so that I wasn't a problem in the future. I was given the token. Here's your 1, here's your 2, here's your 3, here's your 4, here's your 5, here's your 6. Oh, you can't read and write? Yeah, still here's your 6, but we'll work that out. We'll work on that. I don't think that's any better. Now, I'm not saying what's going on now isn't bad, big time bad. Like, I'm talking, where's the petition? Let me sign it. Let me get these kids the education they deserve. Let these autistic kids get the therapies and everything they deserve. But I'm just saying, that is our experience. We were just ignored. They weren't even sensitive to the notion of, you won't be like others, and you probably won't have the same life as the other children, and finish school, and but there's plenty of jobs that I'm sure you'll be able to do. That's kind of just as bad. They sign you off, just write you off. But yeah, pretend to play this game that, oh no, here we all kid. Here's your 7, here's your 8, here's your 9. And don't get me wrong, I got straight A's for dance, performing arts school, theatre arts, A's, phys ed, A's, music, A's, and then we get to the others, and it all just goes down. And I never thought I'd make it. And even when I got to my the 10th year reunion, the only one I went to, yeah, and a girl that went to our school for only a year, so she's irrelevant, so that's a good part to the story. But there's always the bully story, right? Autistic girl. I had plenty of bullies, I had plenty of friends, don't get me wrong, but I had plenty of bullies. And this one girl, luckily, her opinion doesn't matter to me because X generation, not many people's opinions matter to us unless we love them to bits. But this one, her opinion doesn't matter. But this is what she said. And in the moment it hurt, naturally, right? She comes up to me, just gets there. So I'm like, you know, hi. And she was friends with my people that I was really, really close with at school, not after school. We did stick around together until early 20s, and then life just, you know, moves on. But basically, she was like, you know, the tag along, because she didn't really go to our school properly, right? It wasn't like a bond that I'd had with all the other kids that I was in a group with. So she's there with them, and she's like, oh, you're the only one that went to university out of the whole of us girls. And I was like, feeling embarrassed and uncomfortable because I'm an autistic and I don't like being center of attention. I don't like compliments, especially in front of other people. I get very embarrassed. I feel really uncomfortable, and I wasn't at that age group ready to own it, if that makes sense. I had still had that negative self-talk of, you know, when you're in 20s, you have that negative self-talk you're still trying to shake off. You're still working on yourself, you know. And I still hadn't shook off this, no, like, I'm smart and I did that and fuck you. Like, so she says to me, oh, but you know, you got sick at the end, and just right at the end, guys, it was literally, I'd handed in my last assignments. All I didn't do was the last of the exams of the last semester. So that really sucked, because I pretty much did the degree and the knowledge is there. It's a piece of paper at the end of the day. Don't get too hung up on your pieces of paper. But, because like I said, anecdotal experience is just as important, but combine it as well. And read. Reading's good. But basically, most of us autistic advocates, don't we? We do a lot of reading on autism. But it was like, okay, so that's like, I'm autistic brain going, I'm assuming she's trying to insult me. Yes, I think she is. So when she left, I said to my, you know, I said to Sir, I said, oh, that was an insult, right? And Barbara Ann, if you're out there, you were there. You were kind of like, charmer, you know. And I was like, yeah, that was nasty, wasn't it? Yeah, okay. Just checking, because these things sometimes just can go over my head. That's what the bullying thrived on. I most of the time didn't realise I was being bullied. Good thing back then. But anyway, it was kind of like, wow. Considering I went through school, like I said, I'm not saying it's any better what I've experienced or what you're experiencing with your kids not fitting into mainstream school, not being supported in mainstream school, being pushed out of mainstream school. My behaviours were difficult too. My hyperactivity, swinging on the chair, chewing on the pencils, chewing on like anything that I could get a hand on, my jacket zipper, like anything, okay? I was just disruptive. I would hum, I would tap, I would flap around, stimming. I just could not sit still. And if you asked me to, I felt like that if you wanted to give me the worst punishment as a kid, it's sit still. That was just torture, okay? And for most autistic children, that's torture. If you see an autistic child very, very still, they're probably very, very anxious. And even if you ask them about it, the interoception won't tell you, they won't be able to say it. They'll just know if they go frozen, that they are very anxious. And they don't have the words, they don't have the complex emotional intelligence to be able to say, this is what I'm feeling. They don't have that. Certain age groups, developmentally as children, don't have that, let alone an autistic child. But they didn't expect anything of us. They didn't care whether we made it. They just kept handing out. I mean, I remember my merit awards. I used to hate it. I was like, you just give it to me because there's nothing else to give it to me for. I mean, I'd get it for music and art and all the things that I'm good at. I'm a creative, right? Or phys ed. But basically, yeah, most of the time it's like, she's so helpful and she smiles a lot and she's friendly and plays well with others and all this stupid stuff, you know? I wanted to be like Susie, and I wanted to get, you know, she's top mathematics and top English and has the best handwriting, and I wanted a real one. And I knew even as a kid, everyone that I got, I was like, well, I guess you got to give me one. And it hurt, because that represented the whole school life. They knew I didn't have it, but they were willing to sell out my future by just giving it as a tokenism each year group that I passed. So I finished school, year 11, forced out of school, no choice. Year 11, tested by an English teacher to be tutored by. Year 7 level of maths and English, the main things you need to be educated in. Now, they'd passed me for year 10 and 11. Yeah, I know. And so TAFE, I didn't need to go get any extra certificate, but I did a bridging course because, you know why? I couldn't decide. I was like, I'm an autistic, I have a lot of special interests. Picking a career is not going to be easy, so I'm going to do the course that helps you pick a career. And it was great because it had maths in it and communication course in it, which was fantastic, and that's what got me addicted to communication and psychology. That just opened my mind up, because I was there. And you know what I loved about TAFE? You know what I loved about the first entries, which is, this is TAFE, and then I went to uni. You know what I loved about TAFE? Thank you, TAFE, for making me earn every merit I earned, every unit I had to pass, every assignment, every attendance, every input, every exam, everything I had to get and earn myself. And those scores were genuinely my scores. And that's the best feeling ever, especially for an autistic in their special interest. It really just sets them forward until the self-doubt kicks in. I have a son that did the same thing. Went through TAFE, got to the end. Oh, I can't do it. And I was like, I'm autistic, he's autistic. No. I said, son, I said, you are smart, okay? You just don't realise you are, okay? It's what happens sometimes to our brains. And I was trying to explain it as in, us autistics, you know, we think we should know it all, right? And he was thinking that. Because as I got deeper into the conversation, you know, you take the time to sit down and work it out. It's like, he was the same as me. You kind of think that you're supposed to remember every little bit of that stuff you learned straight away on the job. And it's not like that. But anyway, it all worked out. He ended up doing diploma at university and kicking it in his field, right? But autistics are good at having that self-doubt, because I do believe a lot of the time we get bullshitted. And sometimes it's hard to work out, was that our merit, or were we just given it? Like, everyone always says, oh, you're autistic, wow. It's like, yeah, that's the weirdness that you talk about and joke about. That's the weirdness. It's actually formally called autism, but you can call it weirdness, that's okay. I'm used to it, but it's actually autism. Thanks. It'd be nice if you could acknowledge the formal name of what's wrong with me and why I struggle permanently, because autism is not something you can cure or get rid of or change. But then I got to university, and I'm telling you, they make you earn it. Oh, did they make you earn it? They don't not only make you earn it, it's a puzzle. It's a puzzle. It's like, right, we're going to give you a question, and you know what? No, we don't discuss it with you. It's like, good luck. I think they get a thrill out of it. It's like, good luck. It's a good one. And you just look at them and you're like, you are such a sadist. I mean, seriously. These people are smart. These people, most of them are professors, most of them are writing books or written tons of books. Okay, they're smart asses, and they've earned the way to be smart asses, to be quite honest, because they know their shit. They know their stuff. And I used to bug them all the time. and they'd be like thinking that I'm trying to scab it for the assignment, and I'm like, no, I just want to know it all. I never was satisfied with just, they're like, this is all you need to know. Like, the bits you want to know, just save it for your masters or something. I'm like, no, I'm ready now. I'm feeling empty because I got to this point, right? And I want to go level up. You know what, when you're playing games, I want to level up now. I don't want to leave the game now. And they're like, I've really got to go home. I do have a life out there. I'm like, really? Do you have to? Anyway, I was very annoying, but at the same time, no, they used to find me apparently funny because they would laugh at me. So obviously whatever I did was funny. I don't even know what, this is the problem with autism. You don't always know what's made them laugh. But anyway, they just knew I was over enthusiastic basically. But I just love that. So if you're a parent of an autistic child, teenager, whatever, young adult going through education of any kind, primary, secondary, tertiary, right? You need to stand behind them the whole time and say, you got this. And hold the school accountable for making sure that your child is not just yeah, I'll just give you that. No, they need to learn these things. Don't let them limit your child. And if you want to top it up, Kumon in Australia. Don't know anywhere else, apologies. I only live in one country. I'm only one person. But Kumon is I'm talking about the syllabus of the universe. It is just the best topper-upper of schooling if you can't afford private schooling. Because of course private schooling, you do get better quality teachers. Sadly, this is in Australia. It's the truth. And so basically stand behind them, and I apologize if your child does feel low self-esteem because they are seeing, and they might not have the words for it. I didn't have the words for it back then, not for a long time, not even through TAFE at first when things would get handed back to me and they'd go, no, that's crap. And I'd go, okay, you're brutal, aren't you? And then I'm like, okay, and I go back and look at my work and I go, yeah, I can kind of see it's pretty crap, right? I appreciated that. Because you know what? For the first time, I was actually being seen. I was actually being told, you are just like everyone else. And that was an amazing feeling. Because when I did finally get the marks and get the achievements done and earn that merit, I finally could say, I earned that. That wasn't just given to me. They didn't just go, oh, this poor child with all these developmental delays and intellectual delays and, you know, she's dyslexic, and, you know, in those days they didn't have the names for the other ones, but they knew I had those ones because of the types of teachings they would do with me. So, you know, they were all just felt sorry for us. I mean, the way they would look at us, it was like, oh, these poor kids. Now, look, I'm not judging people of that era who were, and by the way, you know, when you get special education, you get the lesser qualified teachers. Well done, Education Department. That's just, you do you. That's just the best option, isn't it? There should be a teacher just like a mainstream student gets. Thank you very much. The same qualifications. In fact, they need more specialty qualifications because these children have a lot of extra needs that you're not meeting in Australia, still now. And in my day, just giving it out, all you teachers just gave it out because you felt sorry for us, that is not okay. That'd be like me going to a job and going to my boss, you know, I kind of did it. You know, I kind of got the workers to do a kind of tokenism. So there you go, there's the token effort they did. That would never fly in any other company. But yet teachers can just biasedly go, yeah. Now these days, I think the reason, and this is the key here, parents to listen to who are parents right now in 2024 in the school system. Ask your school this: are these teachers saying no to my child because you've put in this expectation for them to get them over the line, without the support that the teacher needs to get the child through, without the support for the child to get the child, so the child can get themselves through? Ask those questions, because I'd love to know if that's where the problem lies. Because now they've stopped just giving it out because that wasn't working, was it? That wasn't really cutting it. That wasn't really going to make it forever. And obviously now they've had to be honest. And schools are businesses now in Australia. So if that's going on and the school system's saying, well, these kids aren't going to amount to anything, so we're just going to just let them just have a nice little experience and just give them their thing. Or if their behaviour's just too much, we'll just expel them. Now, I'm not excusing behaviours that are antisocial. I do think behavioural interventions are massively important, so long as they're done non-abusively, of course. But basically, yeah, I don't think that ADHD is an excuse to be a rude little cunt, basically. Not at all. I don't think that a child, because they have ADHD, autism, should be able to do certain behaviours that, you know, are not sort of fair behaviours that other kids don't get away with. However, if there's a meltdown going on, well, like we've seen through whatever that place was over east that was, you know, just an autistic kid would just put their one arm out of line and they were put in a room and surrounded by people and wrestled to the ground and pinned to the ground like they're a crocodile that's trying to be relocated in far north Queensland. Disgusting. No, I'm talking about like bad behaviours that even if you're non-autistic, it's just not okay to do. But if someone's in a meltdown and they're autistic, if someone has ADHD and they cannot control their behaviours, give them a positive outcome, as in a positive shift, okay? I don't care what that is. If you give them a basketball and say, right, I don't want to see you for 15 minutes. I want you to go to the basketball court and play with that basketball and get that energy out of you in a positive way, right? And come back, and I want that behavior to calm down after that. So there is things that can be done rather than just, you're not acting like the other robots, Johnny, so you're out of the school. Boom. I don't think that's appropriate teaching. However, I do think our teachers need special education teachers in the classroom for the children who need the special help, because they have what I call, okay, for a lot of us with ADHD and autism and learning disabilities, okay, a lot of us, it's a disability, which means we need disability supports. It means we need people that understand those disabilities to help us in that environment. So the children right now need that help right now, government. They need that help. And if you're not offering that, then of course these children are not going to react the same way as the other kids that the school's designed for. Design it for all. So now that you can't just give out the grades and just be done with it, and you're having to achieve it, and now you're sort of going, well, that's not working, so we'll just kick these kids out and or make them uncomfortable or let them get bullied, or, you know, I mean, some kids are getting bullied by teachers. Anyway, I could go on, but I'm not going to. I wish everyone well who's in the school system right now, and I apologise if you have not many options to get your child to a better situation. I wish that for all of you. But I just wanted you to know, my generation, it broke my heart when I look back at my whole education journey, and as an autistic, we have a very big thirst for knowledge. But thing that I've gone through all the way through to university. TAFE and university was the best time of my life, the best experience of my life, and studying social services, you learn a lot about yourself as well, which is wonderful. But primary school and high school sucked for the side of education because I was just given like a participation certificate. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. It didn't feel like I was being acknowledged as worthy enough of education. And no Australian child should feel like that. So education department, do better. And I know that that's funding might not be there for you, but that is your responsibility to hound the government and say, this is our future. Literally, we need to see our children being all of the top jobs, okay? Stop acting like, oh no, we've got to immigrate all these doctors, specialists, lawyers, this, that, whatever, all the high educated engineers, all of it. Have you ever thought if your bloody education system was better, including discipline, that maybe we could have our own Australians fulfill those roles in the future? Yeah, sounds good to me. Let's put that as a goal. I think so. Yeah. So that's how I'll wrap it up then. So yeah, just know guys that if you're an adult autistic, you're not stupid. They wanted you to think that because I don't know. I just think it's like the Helen Keller effect. It's just people just think that because of how we came across. They didn't think we had the potential and they were wrong. And they're still wrong now. And that's why a lot of parents are fighting for education for their children in Australia. And you go for it, parents. You go for it. I wish you the best. So, peace out.